everyone to the first of the EduGeek webinar series for IT pros. Throughout the series, you will learn about Microsoft's value proposition in education and how you can help achieve better learning outcomes, save teachers time, leaving them more time to engage with students and lower both the fiscal and management costs and devices, both enabling schools to provide more students with access to technology. For today, we have split the webinar in two parts. Firstly, my name is Tatiana Arvendi, and I'm the Microsoft 365 Education Product Marketing Manager for the UK. I'll do an overview of Microsoft Education, focusing on the modern classroom with affordable, easy-to-manage technology. Microsoft 365 value add, including the universal toolkit for collaboration based on Microsoft Teams and Office ProPlus. Following Diana Solozyova, we'll dig a bit deeper into the tech details. She will give you a guidance on latest security and compliance features in Microsoft 365, including Azure Information Protection. And finally, a discussion about Microsoft Teams architecture, InTune Deployment, and how can school data sync help save time for teachers and admins. Following, we want to hear from you. What are your main challenges these days? What is your approach on moving schools to cloud and improving their digital journeys? And what would you like us to cover next in the Microsoft Education webinar series? So let's start. Microsoft Education overview. Fundamentally, we believe that every student and everywhere has the ability to learn. We also believe that every student everywhere has the right to learn. And we believe that every student everywhere has the right to dream about being the next Stephen Hawking, Machu Kaku, or Katherine Johnson. This is a core belief for everyone for us at Microsoft. We care deeply about both students and institutional success, since education, both learning, is one of our biggest social challenges. And it is central to driving our own mission, to empower every organization and every person on the planet to achieve more. Microsoft views investing in education as an investment in long-term economic growth and prosperity around the world. That's why we specifically invest in technology that helps people, like students, develop skills. Our tools are designed to help people achieve more. Tools like Immersive Reader to assist with basic reading skills, and the world's most used communication and collaboration platform, Office 365, which we offer it to every student, teacher, and school on the planet at no cost. So every school and teacher and student in the UK can access Office 365 by just going on to our website and logging in with their school email for free. With daily challenges and limited resources, educator needs to be confident that they will be able to optimize learning for a diverse population, as well as meet professional goals and standards of their students. So we know that 72% of classrooms has special education students, and this is where our immersive reader and all the accessibility tools come into place. We also know that there's a skills gap. 65% of students will do jobs that don't yet exist. And how do we prepare them to be ready for it? And we have, with your help, an opportunity to reach 15 million students in the UK alone. Think about the modern classroom and what it is. We know that advances in technology will cause major disruptions in the workforce. Automation will replace 50% of existing jobs. So jobs associated with lower education attainment levels will decline. Fastest growing occupations require higher level cognitive skills like problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, and so on. It's never been more critical or urgent for us to transform the classrooms, to make it not a place where you go and get your lectures, get your grades, but a capability for the students to be ready for tomorrow. Given current education systems, fewer than 50% of today's students will be prepared for tomorrow's fastest growing jobs. So we look at the modern classroom as more collaborative and creative as before, as students learning from their experiences, as we using predictive analytics to help them prepare for the future, to always be on security, both on campus and using their devices at home and in cafes, to use devices and technologies that are native to them, so they can use mobile and PCs and tablets and whatever makes them happy and more able to learn, and to empower students, to make them center of their own learning. The good news for schools, IT, is that there has never been greater opportunity to meet the evolving needs of teachers and students. We have affordable technology, but provides more students with access to tools that can improve learning outcomes. We have cloud apps, content, and communities of practice to help teachers improve instructions. We also have advances in machine learning and artificial intelligence to give schools the capabilities to understand the individual needs of each student. And we, of course, have cloud-connected deployment and management tools that give IT greater visibility and control to deliver the solutions across various schools landscapes. And this is how we look at our three pillars in education: better learning outcomes, transform classroom time, affordable and easy to manage technology. And it's all empowered by our two main pillars: intelligent edge and intelligent cloud. How do we have the Windows devices, and how do we use Microsoft 365 and Azure to give the software when we need? Just to dig a bit deeper into the three pillars. So if we think about better learning outcomes, we're thinking the Minecraft lessons that teachers can use to improve coding and creativity skills at their schools. We know that we have 155 million Office 365 monthly users in education. And we have 16 million learning tools as monthly active usage. This is how we measure progress and keep students on track through data and analytics. Prepare them for future with the skills they need in work and life. If you think of the accessibility, we do support more inclusive classrooms. And this is not the webinar on that, but we will happily do a demo webinar where we will show you how you can use this accessibility tools in the classroom to just improve the learning outcomes. Our second pillar was transform classroom time. And this is about teachers, how they can be more efficient, how they would not have to bring printed materials and books to schools and use a lot of time grading and again, grading and giving feedbacks to students. How they can stay focused on learning with reliable devices. How they can save time through tools and planning, assignments and communications, and increase independence and engagements of all students. And here we look at our Teams. It's the fastest growing application in Microsoft history. In education UK alone, we have 900,000 users today. We have more than 100 million OneNote created in education for teachers to share curriculums and session notes. And we have Flipgrid. If you don't know what Flipgrid is, just do an internet search to see what it is, and we will happily dig into a different webinar to tell you more. Our third pillar is affordable, easy to manage technology. So here's how do we stretch your device budget with more affordable choices. Currently in the UK, at BET, we're launching devices starting at £175 and more. It's how do we manage those devices and use it with a web-based console. So we're talking InTune and we're talking school data sync. How do you protect your school and students and meet the highest standards of safety and privacy? Security and compliance, this is something Diana will talk more about. It's a top of mind for all of our education and system leaders in the country and right. We also look at what is important from an educational institution point of view. Do we have in Microsoft 365 everything you need to deliver your institution's curriculum and to teach the kids and teachers what they need to know? So we can group our apps in different buckets, like how do you manage your course materials and management? How do you stream and record video content? How do you do assessments less clunky and easier to manage? How do you create cohorts for your classrooms? How do you do class capture and streaming so you can enhance more remote learning, or the students which cannot be at the class can catch up and always stay up to date? Of course, we have calendars in our Outlook. We do now assignments in OneNote, Teams, and Drive. And you, of course, can also do analytics for personalization and development of your classes and institution as a whole. To help understand the digital transformation, we have created the Education Transformation Framework, which you can find more about it online. But we looked at institutions from all the four pillars there are, from leadership and policy, modern teaching and learning, intelligent environments, and what's the technology blueprint that embeds all of it together. And this is how Microsoft 365 comes to life. It's to empower educators with a single, affordable, and safe solution for better learning outcomes. So if you think Microsoft 365 and what it is, It's one license for Office 365, Windows 10, and Enterprise Mobility and Security. And on top of this is a counterpart of our commercial solution for education. You also get Minecraft Education Edition with Wall Builder. So what does it include? If you think Office 365 education, all the collaboration apps, internal storage and file management, chat and video conferencing with Teams. You also have community building with Yammer, and of course, the loved Office 365 apps like PowerPoint, Excel, Word. Windows 10 and advanced threat protection. This is about the device and the management of your device. And enterprise mobility and security. Here's Azure Active Directory, Azure Information Protection, Microsoft Advanced Threat Analytics, Cloud App Security, Microsoft InTune. All of this comes together in the Microsoft Graph and all our security and compliance features. Centralized policy for management of across all of these apps and devices. So if you think, what do we have to offer? There is a solution for different customers. So if you think Microsoft 365 A1, this is the free Office 365 license with InTune for education. So this is for IT pros, which actually have a very small cohort of devices to manage and a very small, let's say 300 students up to 500 of different students and teachers, and all they need is better management and security for the devices. So you can use the same Office 365 you're having. Then you have Microsoft 365 A3, which is a better version because you get better security and compliance. And then is Microsoft 365 A5 for larger and bigger institutions. The main difference between Microsoft 365 A3 and A5, as with our broader E3 and E5 portfolio, are the advanced security analytics and voice workloads that are included in A5. So in A5 thing, you also have a voice plan, and you can work in Teams to do audio conferencing and reduce the remote, the face-to-face meetings and improve collaboration between departments and campuses and countries, if you will. We look at Microsoft 365 as the universal toolkit for teamwork. Again, the same apps, how do we bring them all together with Office 365 groups, with Microsoft Graph and security and compliance? And when we think Teams in education, it's even more developed than in commercial. We have special engineers which work with our education customers and the IT pros to improve it daily on the features and everything we have in Teams. So think on one side, we have the Microsoft 365 apps and the collaboration feature we talked about. We also have calls, chat, and Teams for better communication and feedback and grading giving. We also introduce assignments for education. On top of this, we're working with our partners to integrate with the most common apps in education. So including our virtual learning environment solutions like Moodle, and you'll see the Turnitin, the RSpace, and all the other apps which our community asks us to integrate. So there is one single sign-on and easy for a user to manage their courses and curriculums on different platforms. And when we think about Teams, we also think of one hub for everyone to be connected. So here you can bring teaching and learning, faculty and staff coordination, research for bigger institutions, student community building, and professional development. And on top of this, there is also IT management and administration, which you can easily manage from Teams and help you connect with the users in a very seamless way. If you didn't hear much about Teams, or if you're just starting your journey with Teams, we have a really nice specialist adoption courses for IT pros. So aka.ms/Teams University, and you'll see the IT Pro setup guidance. Just go in there and see all the courses that are available for you. And it takes about 2-3 hours to go through each introductory course. We also have monthly webinars for IT pros, which we'll talk about later, delivered by our engineering team at Corp, just to give you more power to deploy and enable Teams. So following from Teams, I want to move into the second pillar of Microsoft 365. This is Get Modern. So when we talk about Get Modern, it is about Windows 10 and Office 365, keeping it up to date. This means 3 things, basically. Upgrading from example, Windows 7 to Windows 10. We know that Windows 7 end of support is this week. Or refreshing with new Windows 10 devices is how do you upgrade to a tablet mode and everything that makes your class more collaborative and easy to be creative for your students. Second, moving from perpetual Office to the rich client apps of Office 365 Pro Plus. So think from Office 2013 to Office 365, where all the applications are more native, are evergreen, and easy to use online. And third, IT teams adopting a stay current process, utilizing Windows and Office servicing to deploy regular security and features updates. This combination provides the most productive and most secure computing experience for users while lowering total costs of ownership for the organization, all while reducing complexity for IT teams. Let's take a look at how does this look. So we've conducted Forrester conducted a research on our behalf on what is the total cost of ownership when deploying Office Pro Plus and Windows 10. And we can see that there's 5.3 million cost saving on infrastructure and licensing, and 1.9 million on device and app management. We know that per week, each user saves 2.3 hours in efficiency, not spending it on opening apps, on saving documents, and sharing the same version of document 4 times. We know that there's a 40% reduction in security risk because all is embedded in our EMS. Enterprise Mobility and Security Solutions, and it's helped by Azure Active Directory. 70% less time spent testing apps for IT pros. That's for your community to be more efficient and spend more time educating users to be better at security risks and be better users of technology than actually spending on deployment and enablement. And you get a payback on this in 13 months. The research was done across 5,000 organizations, 5,000 users across a period of 3 years. So there is enough data to back it up. And in the UK, we have case studies like Greenwood's Academies, which is saving costs and already had a return on investment when purchasing M365 A3 a couple years ago for their trust cohort of schools. So we can give you more details of that, so you can actually talk to them in the Microsoft Training Academies to learn how they did. So when we talk Office 365 Pro Plus, is one of the workload services available in Office 365, which will basically allow you to locally install Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook on your device. So if the free Office 365 is online, it's web-based, and you need to go to have an internet connection to edit documents and work together, this allows you to work on your desktop and always be connected with actual version and work at the same time. You can install it on up to 5 PCs and 5 tablets and 5 phones, so it's 15 devices. Secondly, you get monthly updates with new features, so you don't have to do anything. The software updates by itself. You just set up the updates policy for your organization and for your users. And you can work offline. So you can work offline as much as you want. And when you connect to the internet, the documents and everything will be uploaded to OneDrive and to our infrastructure for you to get the latest updates. You also get a 1 terabyte cloud storage, and you have a 24/7 phone support. We also have a fast track assistant to help you deploy, which Diana will touch upon at the end. So if you think Office Perpetual like 213, 16, and 19, it's one PC, it's static features. And then when moving to Office 365 Plus, we're thinking per user, always up to date, real-time collaboration, exclusive security, mobile, PC, Mac, web. It's powered by artificial intelligence and creativity, and we have data to AI-based insights. Just to give you an idea on how this looks cumulatively. This is Office 2010. What features we had in Office 2010 and which we added in Office 2013. The features we added in 2016, 2019, and finally Office Pro Plus. We can with confidence say that it's most productive, most secure, and it has lower cost of ownership. It also updates, it's evergreen, which means it updates the features. So if just to give you an idea on how much better it gets with each feature update. So this is a cumulative view from fall 2016 to fall 2018 of all the features you added. If you think the presenter coach, which was all over the social media, the live captioning, which you can do now in Teams with just a click, in PowerPoint with just a click on the button. This is all available in the Pro Plus version of this. So why do we want you to help us to move customers from this perpetual to ProPlus? First of all, again, most productive, most secure, lowest TCO. Also, we have the end of extended support for Office 2010, 2014, and 2020. So effective October 13th, 2020, Office 365 will only allow Office client connectivity for subscription clients, Office 365 ProPlus, or Office perpetual clients within mainstream support to connect to Office 365 services. So key points: end of support for Office 2010. We need to get moving to a better better version of Office, and end of connectivity to Office 365 services for 2013 and 2016. Just be aware of this and stay up to date. Help us help you be more secure and always more productive. So what's different compared to the last big desktop deployment? It's easier. So you don't have to block the school for a couple of months to do the deployment of Office. We have the online tools and the support you need to do it easier. Directory services are moving to the cloud as the fabric for connectivity to cloud-based services. Again, it will be across apps and services, and it will make you easier for future updates. Both Windows 10 and Office 365 ProPlus are evergreen. There's no more 3-year cycle of huge upgrade projects. It will be updated as per the policies you have set up in your organization. It could be 3 months, 6 months, and there are different cycles you can choose. 64-bit is recommended for most Office users, and is now the default for installations on your computer. So think of the devices you're choosing and the capabilities they have for the STEM and Minecraft when choosing it for your institution. Microsoft Intune can manage Windows 10 policies. So you have the same configuration management, which helps you do it from one platform without dealing with different policies and doing manually for each device. It is the most productive again, and it's recommended for most users, and especially in education, we have the case studies to prove it that our students and teachers are more productive and more efficient. We do have the semi-annual feature updates and cumulative monthly security and bug fixes, which you can again choose to set up in different ways at your institutional level. One objection you'll get from customers and people working with Office on-prem is the compatibility mode. So when moving from the on-prem to cloud, you'll have a lot of macros, which you'll think, and add-ins that might not work. So we do have a compatibility promise, which is based on research. So first of all, backward compatibility. We have, it will work with Office 2013 and up. We have third-party add-ins, so we can proactively monitor add-in health and work with developers to integrate the newest features. We have assessment tools to help you see if your macros are updated and if they will work in the new Office. And of course, ongoing assistance, which we already mentioned, and we'll give you the links on how to get it. If you think from the telemetry and the research we did 99% of third-party commercial add-ins compatible with Office ProPlus. So you have only 1% of those add-ins not working, and you'll have the support needed to make them compatible or transfer them to the new version of Office. And if you talk about macro, it's less than 0.3% of documents have potential macro issues. So if you're running your HR or finance department on macros, you can fix it. Less than 0.3% incompatibility that can be corrected for it. And 0.6% documents with macros that need remediation, if we think about the 60-bit requirement. So this is just to finalize. You do have the Office Readiness Toolkit, just mentioned earlier. So just go to aka.ms/readiness toolkit, download the file and run it in your organization. And it will give you an automatic report of all the macros that will and will not work. So it just tells you, is your environment ready to move to the cloud version of Office 365 ProPlus? And secondly, we have more resources like desktop analytics documentation, which you can get at aka.ms/da-docs. It's for IT pros on how to deploy easy and have all the documents needed. And of course, we have the Desktop Deployment Center. This is how do you find details about the Get Modern and how to shift from on-prem to cloud by using this link. Just go aka.ms/how-to-sheet. Do let us know if you have specific questions that we can help you with. Following, handing over to Diana for an overview of our security deployment and device management features.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Diana Solosiova, and I'm a modern classroom experience and technical solutions professional. Right, so I wanted to talk a bit about security. Why is it important in education? And just to highlight a few of the favorite security features that our customers love. So the way we work and the tools that we use are changing rapidly, including the rise of employees bringing their work devices to the work environment and the pervasive use of software as a service apps. Because of this, organizations manage and secure their data. Because of this, the way organizations they manage and secure the data must evolve. Companies no longer operate solely within their own walls, protected by a moat that surrounds their border. Data travels to more locations than ever before, for example, across both on-premise and cloud environments. While this has helped increase users' productivity and their ability to collaborate with others, it has also made protecting sensitive data more challenging. So we know that with the shift to the mobile-first, cloud-first world, the perimeter is only a single component of protecting the information. It is important that customers balance their goals of security and productivity. Customers want to enable and foster collaboration to create business value, and this requires data sharing and data mobility. And at the same time, they want to prevent unauthorized disclosure, modification, or destruction of data and important information. Customers also want to reduce and manage the risk of user errors, for example, unintentional sharing of inappropriate data or usage of important information. Some of the security and compliance challenges we have in education. As a parent myself, and when students and parents consider choosing a school or any other educational institution, usually safety and security are the key. Cyber attacks in education are growing faster than any other industries, and physical crime in schools is on the rise, unfortunately. With end-to-end intelligent solutions powered by sophisticated artificial intelligence from Microsoft, security staff can manage access to cyber and physical spaces, while helping to decrease the impact and number of successful attacks. I'm sure we all agree that the world of enterprise security grows more complex and challenged by the day. Attacks are more and more sophisticated, and we all have to stay ahead of the curve. Bring your own device, and the move toward mobile is only growing, and it's making things a little bit challenging for the IT admins. And because business is moving fast as well, business units are too taking shortcuts and creating a rise in shadow IT, where attackers are finding fertile ground for breaches. Most importantly, 81% of breaches are about passwords. This is a problem that must be solved and that we have to be proactive about. Today, security is the top of mind subject for a lot of colleagues, starting with the protection of high-value data, such as PII, which includes social security numbers and financial information, also health records. In some cases, sensitive research data and intellectual property that can be targeted by advanced threats from sophisticated criminals or state-sponsored hackers. All of this rich data makes universities prime target for malicious actors. Generally speaking, the higher education institutions don't always have the resources to put towards a robust security solution. And obviously, with such an open environment and relatively easily accessible student emails, phishing attempts and fraud attempts are a regular occurrence for university students. Not only colleagues have to worry about cyber attacks, but with generally such expansive campuses and a multitude of students, on-premises physical safety is a hard thing to guarantee. 30% of higher educational institutions are hit by a cyber attack every hour, which leads to data breaches. We also have 13% of all higher education institutions that have experienced some ransomware attacks on the networks. I think you've heard about this mainly in 2016, where two or three of the attacks completely brought down the universities. Then higher education accounts for 17% of all data breaches where personal information was stolen, second only to healthcare. And then the higher education sector ranks highest among the worst business sectors for handling cyber threats, with 73% of organizations taking 3 or more days to apply a patch. So how do we protect and ensure that we are immune to the cyber attacks? Recommendation is to protect at the front door. You should secure your identities with Azure Active Directory and give conditional access based on machine learning and advanced analysis. To improve the user experience while maintaining security, you can less a passwordless strong authentication with Windows Hello. There is also a single sign-on on thousands of apps within Azure Active Directory. Also recommend to use self-service password reset for users. And in order to safeguard the credentials, I strongly recommend to enforce the multi-factor authentication for all of the users within your campus or a school, and also monitor the security alerts when IDs are blocked and take action. How can you reduce the attacks on the surface? You would need to assess your security state continuously and address vulnerabilities, build security controls into the devices, apps, information, and the network. To detect attacks and block them faster, you can benefit from advanced behavioral analytics and machine learning, and use advanced threat analytics to know when and how breaches have occurred. To respond automatically to breaches where appropriate, you can reduce threat solution times with automation to mitigate damage and intelligent investigation to assess the extent of the breaches. So all of this and more is already included in Microsoft 365 pack, as Tati mentioned before. I would also like to mention one more favorite feature our pack, which is Azure Information Protection. So the best way to protect data at all times, I would say, regardless of where is it stored or with whom is it shared, or which device is used, is to build a classification and protection into the file itself, so the protection can travel with the data wherever it goes or travels. Microsoft Azure Information Protection, or AIP, trying to provide persistent data protection for both on-premise and in cloud. The data classification is an important part of any governance plan. By adopting the classification scheme that applies throughout your business, it can be particularly helpful in responding to what the GDPR calls the data subject. So, for example, your EU employee or customer, for those requests, because it enables enterprises to identify more readily and process personal data requests. There's different levels of classifications, for example, from public to highly confidential, and different methods to classifying data. AIP can be used to help you classify and label your data at the time of creation or modification. When we look at the next slide, you can see that you can query for data marked with a sensitivity label. In this particular case, the Excel document has been labeled confidential because it contains credit card numbers. Admins and data owners can query for labeled files stored on file stores. As an example, a risk manager can query and investigate all highly confidential files that are located under the shared folder. On the next slide, so AIP can also intelligently identify sensitive data when a file or email is created or modified, as in this example. The admin has configured sensitive data, in this case, the credit card information. You can see that AIP automatically labeled the file containing sensitive data as confidential. When a user saves a document that contains credit card information, the user sees a notification that the file has been labeled as confidential. And the label of the file changes from not set to confidential. After your content is classified and optionally protected, you can monitor how it's used. You can analyze data flows to gain insight into your business, detect risky behaviors, and take corrective measures to track access to the document and prevent data leakage or misuse. So this slide is showing us how Azure Information Protection tracks documents geographically. On the actual map of the location, you can see that people who have attempted to access the document called blue. You can see that whereas most of the people who have accessed the document are in the United States, someone in Australia attempted to access the document and was blocked. The other screenshot shows you how to revoke access and send a message stating why. Moving to the next slide and technology, I would like to touch base on Microsoft Teams, but from a slightly different point of view, and we will look at it from a technical overview and talk about what happens in the background when a Teams is created. So, looking at the Teams, we understand it as a central to the logical architecture of productivity services in Microsoft 365. This includes data governance, security, and compliance capabilities. Microsoft Teams is built on Office 365 groups, Microsoft Graph, and the same enterprise-level security, compliance, and manageability as the rest of Office 365. How does the Teams interact with underlying technologies? Teams apps capabilities depend on underlying communication and collaboration technologies. When you create a team, you are creating a new Office 365 group, SharePoint online site and document library to store the team files, an Exchange Online shared mailbox and calendar, and lastly, a OneNote notebook. When you create a team from an existing Office 365 group, that group's membership, site, mailbox, and notebook are surfaced in Teams. To customize and extend Teams, you can add other Office 365 apps, such as Power BI or Planner, through apps, bots, and connectors using custom tabs. So when you create the team in Microsoft Teams, on the backend, you are creating an Office 365 group and the associated SharePoint document library and OneNote notebook, along with ties into other Office 365 cloud apps. You can add or remove group members just as you would with any other group-based security object in Active Directory. How does the Teams manage identities? Teams support all the identity models that are available in Office 365, and it leverages identities stored in Azure Active Directory and combines core directory services, application access management, and identity protection into a single solution. So as you know, today we have 3 identity models here. With the cloud identity and the simplest identity model, a user is created and managed in Office 365 and stored in Azure AD, and the password is verified by Azure Active Directory. With the second synchronized identity, the user identity is managed in an on-premises server, and the account and password hashes are synchronized to the cloud. The federated identity model requires a synchronized identity, where the user password is verified by the on-premises identity provider, for example, Active Directory Federation Services. So IT Pro capabilities. So as you know, Team is the fastest growing apps in the business, and its features are constantly evolving. For the past 2 years, we've made a lot of upgrades and fixed a lot of bugs that were raised by our IT pros. So some of the latest features that we have introduced for the teams are there. So we have a group naming policy, team lifecycle management, and automated team provision. So with the group naming policy, you can enforce a consistent naming strategy for groups created by users in your organization. A naming policy can help you and your users identify the function of the group, membership, geographic region, or who has created the group. This article tells you how to manage the lifecycle of Office 365 groups by setting an expiration policy for them. You can see the aka.ms /group policy. It tells you also how you can set an expiration policy only for Office 365 groups in Azure AD. Once you basically set the group to expire, those groups' activities are automatically renewed as the expiration nears, and owners of the groups are notified to renew the group if the group is not auto-renewed. There is also a lot of useful commands that will help you deploy and start Teams rollout. So if you go to aka.ms /Teams PowerShell commandlets, but let's look at the last part of the deployment for Teams and its overview. So if we look at the deployment best practices, a lot of people usually ask us about how do I go and enroll the teams across the campus? How do I enroll it across the departments? I recommend to always test and pilot. You would start piloting with a group of users. We call them champions. They will be the users that are the quickest to adopt the technology and also want to share and help others with its adoption. Usually, depending on the business nature, you can either deploy to all users at the same time or phase if needed. If you do have various departments, I would recommend to phase the rollout as you go. Keep users informed from the beginning to an end of the adoption. Make sure there's posters or any kind of signages across the school that will bring the attention to the product, and users will want to know more about this. Also, feedback is very important. Please listen to your users and make sure that there is someone assigned to listen and to respond in a short time. Right, next bit that I would like to touch on is InTune and its deployment. As you already know, Microsoft InTune for Education is a cloud-based mobile device management, or as we call it, MDM, service for schools. It helps your teachers and students stay productive on classroom devices and keep school data secure. So with InTune for Education, you can configure and assign apps for students in the classroom, control how students and teachers access and share classroom info. You can apply school security requirements to the devices and apps, and manage the desktops and mobile devices students use to access. The InTune for Education portal is simply designed to include only the settings and workflows you need to manage iOS and workflow and Windows school devices. From the portal, you can view and take action on your device, user, and app inventory. The improved InTune for Education is a cloud-based service that delivers easy setup and control of Windows 10 apps and devices in the classroom. InTune is at the core of a modern platform to create the conditions for learning in the classroom. Microsoft's cloud technologies can be deployed alongside or integrate easily with your existing infrastructure. The top feedback we have heard since the launch years ago has been better support for troubleshooting with Windows 10 devices, managed by InTune for Education, and scaling the deployment for different sizes of schools. Let's look at the first benefit of the InTune. As you can see, as soon as the device is joined to Azure Active Directory, it will be enrolled to be managed by InTune for Education. It means that all assigned apps will be installed, all the configuration settings for the device will be applied. The device settings are enforced for all users of the device. InTune will collect hardware and software inventory data on that device. This scenario works mainly for bring-your-own devices, so a student or a teacher providing their own device can be enrolled and managed via InTune for Education. So Windows 10 makes it very easy to deploy devices in schools. Option 1 is to run the out-of-the-box experience, or OOBE, on a new device. During the setup, the IT admin can join the device to Azure Active Directory, which automatically enrolls the devices and applies the device settings. As soon as the first user logs in, all the right apps are installed and configured and are ready for the user or any other user in case of shared devices. Option 2 would be to use the Setup School PCs app, SUSP. This is a free utility available from the Microsoft Store for Education, and it will also walk the IT admin through the setup and store the configuration on a USB key. Anyone can then use that USB key by inserting it into any new Windows 10 device, which will be automatically joined, enrolled, and configured with the click of a button. So once the device is deployed and enrolled, there isn't any need for an IT admin to ever touch it again for the rest of the school year. Using InTune for Education, IT admins or their delegates can install and configure application. This would include any web apps acquired through Microsoft Store for Education, and any Win32 apps. They can also enforce settings on a group of devices or groups of users. For example, all of the PCs in the photography class can use the camera, but devices in other classes cannot. Or all of the students in the computer science class can access the app for writing code, but that application is not available to any other students that are not in the computer class, science class. Also, with Microsoft Store for Education, apps are automatically available to assign. The IT admin does not need to download it or create an install package like we would do with SCCM, for example. It appears in the admin console as available to distribute like any other app. Apps and settings assigned to the users follow that users. So in cases of a shared device, when a student logs in, they see all the apps they are supposed to see. Once they log off that device and the teacher then logs in, the teacher would have access to all the teacher's apps. Right. So earlier we talked about how important it is to schools to have solutions that are easy to understand and use. Sometimes that means sacrificing flexibility and power. In case of InTune for Education, the simplified management console is easy enough for a part-time IT staff to handle routine management tasks, but detailed and powerful enough to satisfy the more seasoned IT pros. The simplified web console is mainly for managing the Windows 10 devices. With an express setup option, Windows 10 devices are set up automatically with school-appropriate settings. For the IT admins who want to customize their settings, there's around 150 granular settings that they can play with. InTune for Education gets even better when you can use your school roster data aside to automatically create groups in Azure Active Directory and Office 365, but I will talk about this after our InTune for Education deck. So you might be thinking about now that there are two versions of InTune, but that's really not the case. InTune is a cloud service that enables mobile device and mobile app management for schools and for businesses. It remains the same. InTune for Education is a tailored way to offer Microsoft InTune to schools. So InTune for Education is Microsoft InTune with some added goodness tailored especially for the schools. A simplified management console to make it very easy to deploy, set up and manage and wipe Windows 10 devices and the application your school uses. Its specific features normally part of the paid Azure Active Directory Premium services to enable simplified management and shared device scenarios. You also have an auto-enroll feature which allows devices to be automatically enrolled with no additional steps, either by logging on the first time or by using a USB setup key. Let's look at some of the features and comparison of the features. So InTune for Education is Microsoft InTune tailored specifically for K-12 IT admins. With it, you get two different InTune consoles. So as we mentioned, InTune for Education, streamlined portal experience that any IT pro will appreciate, but also designed to make it easy for teachers and a part-time IT pros to manage Windows 10 devices in the classroom, and InTune, which gives you the option to manage all the devices in your mobile ecosystem. Both the full InTune console and the InTune for Education console are included when you buy InTune for Education. Integrating the System Center Configuration Manager with InTune is a great option for when you want to manage both the main joint PCs, Macs, Linux or Unix servers, Windows servers, and as well as the mobile devices for a single management console. InTune for Education also includes a simplified management experience for Windows 10 devices, as well as selected AADP features, which enables zero-touch management of Windows 10 devices, shared device support, the ability to manage groups based on the sys roster data, thanks to the school data sync, and you can also easily wipe the devices at the end of the year to start fresh in the new school year. So to summarize all the benefits, with InTune Education console, it's very easy to manage all your device estate, iOS devices and Android devices, Windows 10. It's very easy to set up. You can set up the whole classroom, even the whole school, under an hour. So I would recommend to look at some of the features and just a full comparison of the features online to see which solution works best for your needs. If we now move onto the school data sync that was already mentioned previously and just talk about it as to what it is. So as we talked about identities previously, we have mentioned a cloud identity. So once you have this identity integration with on-premise AD and you're ready to create cloud-only identity, enabling school data sync, or as it's called SDS, is going to be the next step. SDS can be used to either create new cloud-only identities or it will evolve your existing identities for all of the users. So use will be involved to students and teachers and associated to a grade, school, and other EDU-specific attributes and associations. SDS will also synchronize and create all of your classes in Office 365 for use as Office 365 groups in Microsoft Class Teams. SDS will also add teachers as a class owners and students as a class members based on the roster data stored in your school information system. So what does that all mean? Well, for schools and universities, and especially for those that use Office 365, Microsoft introducing school data sync means that you will save time and money and get enterprise-grade performance and reliability in a solution tailored for education. It saves time. Teachers will save time because online classrooms are updated automatically. They do not need to do any manual work at the beginning of the term or when there are changes. IT admins will also save time because rosters are created automatically based on information stored in the student information system, so they can use a single source of truth to automatically create rosters for all classes and all compatible applications. Even students will save time thanks to a single sign-on where they can sign on once and access all their resources. STS will also save you money because IT admins can spend less time creating rosters and more time on important IT projects. Help desk cost can go down too with fewer password and access issues due to the single sign-on. And finally, the solution works with what you already have today. You do not need to buy any new devices or software to get these benefits. With the enterprise performance, this solution has been tailored for education customers mainly, with input from schools, teachers, admins, SIS providers, and ISVs in education, but it's built on the scalable, reliable, and secure Office 365 and Azure Active Directory platforms from Microsoft. These services have been proven by hundreds of millions of users around the world. Having a single connection to your SIS data helps reduce privacy risks your IT will have, ultimate control over what gets synchronized and which apps can access the information. So School Data Sync, which will be included in your Office 365 education license, will mirror user profiles and class rosters from a student information system into Office 365. It models classrooms within Office 365 as groups and group sites, so teachers can easily manage classes and class material. Our objective is to help teachers save time by automatically creating groups and enabling single sign-on to the apps in the classroom, help schools and districts save money by working with existing technology investments to reduce the time IT admins spend managing groups, troubleshooting and auditing security, help ISVs by providing a single free platform and API to connect their applications to SIS data, and also to help SIS providers by providing a single free platform API to connect to LMS and other classroom apps. As you can see, there is currently 95 SIS and MIS systems in place and millions of students across 30 countries using the School Data Sync. If you want your customers to sign up to STS, please visit http://aka.ms/SDS sign up, or go to sds.microsoft.com and click sign up. Just to highlight a few of the applications that work with Microsoft. So this is for single sign-on, rostering, LTL assignment and grading, and Microsoft Wrap. So one of the most popular in the UK are Moodle. We also have a Capita Sims that already works with School Data Sync. Just to bring some of the resources up, so as I mentioned, visit sds.microsoft.com. There's also a lot of case studies where you can compare what the school has been through and what were the requirements in terms of deploying School Data Sync. And the best thing about all of this is also a deployment support that is free and is offered by Microsoft at aka.ms/SDS sign up. So as an IT pro, I usually get questions about how do we deploy Office 365. So Microsoft already offers loads of services that help IT pros with the deployment and even the data migration. So all customers that have 150 paid seats have an ongoing access to fast track engineers or approved partners. If you do if you already have 500 plus paid seats or paid licenses, you can also benefit from a data migration from fast track. This would mainly help larger schools, multi-academy trusts or universities. We do understand that in the UK specifically, There are smaller schools, for example, primary schools with less than 150 paid seats, where we have introduced a new EDU assist support. So this is basically to establish or onboard the organization's tenant and activate and configure administrative settings for all cloud services included in Office 365 and Microsoft 365 or Minecraft EDU licenses. There is a team of experts in the Microsoft Store that will help you onboard, help you with your existing Office 365 migration, or address or connect you with your partners that will be able to help you complete your onboarding or deployment support. If you want to go ahead and submit a request for assistance, please visit aka.ms/eduassist. Once submitted, the engineers will come back to you within 48 days. Last but not least, questions and answers. We would love to hear your feedback and any suggestions following this webinar. Please go ahead to edugeek.net, where you will be able to see a comment section under the video, or you can email myself at v-dsol@microsoft.com. Thank you very much for your time. Have a lovely day.